Who's there?
What you doing now?
I'll
We'll
push it
ask
there.
him if it's okay.
It's okay, I'll talk to him. Now, I happen to be here with, again, with a story that I just have to tell people, that I'm still alive from 4 years ago, when I had the daggone virus and was at Fort Thomas Hospital, and laying there, getting ready to be put onto the ventilator. And with the time running out, the Lord was calling me home. All of a sudden, I get a call. We're gonna have to put you on the ventilator, but there is an experimental drug that we can use. And Dr. Moser says, I asked him, I said, well, would you take it? He said, if you were in my condition, he said, absolutely. So I took the experimental drug, and it happened to be called the Trump cocktail later.
It was. They gave President Trump the same thing.
That's right, that's right.
I get this, the good story.
And it pulled me out of it, and here I am 4 years later, a little bit missing in the mental capacity.
But not quite yet a Democrat.
But that's right, not quite yet a Democrat. And I'm a Trump man all the way with doing what he's doing. And I'm a Kim Moser person all the way. And I'm a Jesus Christ person all the way. And that's the main thing in life. And today here, I'm getting my lungs checked. I'm one of the best in the country, not the state, in the country.
Well,
Dr.
John,
Neal
and,
Moser.
whenever I know you're on my schedule, I check with St. Peter and I see if you're on the list. You're not there today.
I'm here today.
I gotta get going. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's the big difference. That's why we need to be thanking Israel. We need to respond with a nuclear weapon. If we see this as a threat of war, we need a nuclear after war. We can't let Iran get to that point. And thank you, Israel, for making sure that they're not going to have a nuclear response.
The commander of Mark Meadows of the Revolutionary Guards has been killed in this strike, once again showing the superior intelligence of the Israelis, just like the pager incident is beyond superior. Close to weapons grade enrichment.
It's a risk that we couldn't take either, Sean. One of the interesting things, there's going to be all kinds of armchair quarterbacks out there saying, well, you should have negotiated longer. Let me just tell you, someone who has followed this particular issue for well over a decade, I can tell you that the Iranians are not honorable negotiators. And the only thing worse than a dishonorable in the Situation Room, Peter Ducey's there reporting from the White House, there's are certainly a number of the president's teams. We couldn't have waited any longer. We are weeks away from a nuclear Iran, which means that it would wreak havoc not only for Israel, but for America as well.
And the Supreme Leader, Aaron, is getting very, very arrogant in his comments by rejecting the president's offer. We've got 20 seconds. We'll let you comment on that.
Which means we'll hit you without warning, precise, strong, ruthless. Sean, Israel doesn't have any choice. The longer they wait, the closer Israel. It's about survival for Israel, so we struck first. And let that be a lesson to all the leaders of the IRGC. Israel's got assets everywhere we're watching, and you did this to your country and flipped them all for us, so thank you.
It's 10 p.m. on the East Coast, 7 o'clock here in Los Angeles, and 5 a.m. in Israel, a country now bracing for a robust response from Iran. Welcome to a special edition of America's Late News, Fox News at Night. And breaking tonight, Israel launching preemptive strikes against Iran, striking Iranian territory and targeting Iranian nuclear sites, as well as Iran's long-range missile capabilities and military command centers. Now, we are told the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces military strikes in Iran, will continue for most, if not the better part of all night. Israel is now calling the mission, quoting here, Operation Rising Lion. And Israel decided to act now because the country believes that Iran is close to having, or does have, as many as 15 nuclear warheads. This has been a concern going on now for decades. And while Israel is targeting Iran, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu believes that Iran will soon target Israel. And therefore the country tonight is on, or this early morning, is on high alert. Let's bring in the chief foreign correspondent, Trey Higgs. He's live in Tel Aviv on what is now early Friday morning, almost 5 a.m. Friday morning, or now just past 5 a.m. Friday morning. Trey, what are we learning? What do you see?
Yeah, Trace, good evening. A state of emergency has been declared across Israel, civilians being told to stay next to bomb shelters after the Israeli military tonight launched strikes against Iranian nuclear sites, the country's missile program, and also targeted specific individuals. According to Iranian state media, Hossein Salami, the entire head of the IRGC, was killed in an Israeli strike. Other casualties are being reported by local media, and we are waiting to get confirmation on those. This is the large attack that everyone in the region was waiting to see if it would happen. The Israelis targeting directly Iranian nuclear facilities, including the Natanz facility, where the Iranians enrich uranium, one of the pieces to build a nuclear bomb. As we move forward here, though, the concern is what the Iranian response will be to these strikes. We know the Americans were not involved in these strikes, but they certainly could be involved in the defense of Israel in a possible Iranian response. Israeli officials tonight in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem agree this is not a question of if Iran responds, but rather when and how. Previous rounds of conflict between the two countries last year give us some indication of how they might respond. Back in April, after the Israelis targeted the Iranian consulate in Damascus, Syria, 11 to 12 days later, there was an Iranian response that included missiles and drones. And then in October of last year, you might remember, as we reported on the ground from northern Israel, the Iranians targeted Israel with hundreds of ballistic missiles in response to the killing of the leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, and Hamas leadership, one of which actually took place in the Iranian capital of Tehran. Moving forward, what the defense will look like, it will be a combination of Israeli air defense systems and also American systems. The Israelis have the David Sling and the Arrow 2 and 3 systems that are used for medium and long-range ballistic missiles. And then, of course, the Patriot missile defense systems that the Trump administration ensured that the Israelis had the interceptors for, and the THAAD missile defense system. But again, tonight, the latest information that we can confirm, they have launched a complex operation that, according to the IDF, included dozens of Israeli fighter jets targeting positions across Iran. Explosions were heard in the capital of Tehran. Smoke was seen rising from nuclear facilities, including the key Natanz enrichment facility. And also, there are reports tonight in Iranian state media that the head of the IRGC was killed in an Israeli airstrike. This would be so significant it's hard to explain in context, but I can give you a reference point back to 2020 in January, when President Trump ordered the killing of Qasem Soleimani outside of Baghdad's international airport. Soleimani was the head of Iran's Quds forces, responsible for very specific militia activity across the Middle East. The man who was reportedly killed tonight, Hossein Salami, is the head of the entire IRGC. So if this is confirmed, the Israelis not only killed the top military general in Iran, they targeted the country's nuclear sites, and they went after their long-range ballistic missile program. Days of war are ahead between Israel and Iran, but as many have noted, this will not look like a traditional conflict that the Israelis have been fighting over the past 620 days on the ground, for example, inside Gaza against Hamas and in southern Lebanon against Hezbollah. This will look like missile exchanges, Israeli strikes that are expected to continue against Iran. And again tonight we have learned from the IDF that this was simply the first in what is expected to be a wave of strikes targeting